My name is Jackson Bagley-Bonner. I started this project in Columbus, Ohio, while living with some friends from school. I grew up in an average house when it came to technology, but once I got out on my own, things changed. My friends and I related through only one thing: what was on our screens. I loved my time there, but after a while, the lifestyle grew tiresome. I'd been overweight and struggled with depression since I was young, and sitting in front of a computer screen wasn't helping. I decided to change my diet and consume mostly raw foods. I made a bicycle my only form of transportation, and started practicing yoga and meditation daily. Over the course of a year, I lost 100 pounds and moved from dark living rooms to bright pastures. Near the end of this transformation, I had a thought. How could I live a sustainable lifestyle in tune with nature while still living in our modern world? My parents exposed me to this lifestyle when I was young. We always hiked and camped when I was a kid. I had to change everything around me. I had lived one extreme. It was time to live the other.
And he hiked the entire Appalachian Trail and never purchased a morsel of food anywhere.
You probably grew up saying Appalachian. It's Appalachian here.
In about 6 hours, we will leave Burton, Ohio. My mother, my father, and I we're heading to Hickory, North Carolina to stay with my mother's cousins. Sunday morning, we'll go from Hickory to Asheville, see the land. It'll be the first time I see the land I'll have seen, where I'll be free. But after an adolescence of rebellion, I had to embrace the lifestyle on my own. There was only one way to do it: a great escape. I left Ohio for a short trip with my folks to visit my grandparents in Florida. On the way back, my father would spend a week helping me set up and adjust to life on the land before he departed and left me off the grid in the mountains of North Carolina. There were 2 other men staying on the land, working for the owner. Sam and Brian weren't rookies when it came to this lifestyle. My father pulled away and left me with a bicycle, a tent, and a new way of life for 4 months.
You know you're done when, they're still wet, but they're damp. They're not soaking. In terms of heating up the water, getting everything settled, I'm probably on 20 or 30 minutes of washing, and I have washed 2 shirts so far.
Life on the farm was tough, but the rhythm of things and simplicity of life were more than ample rewards. If I wanted something, I had to work for it. Our drinking water was harvested deep in a national forest at a spring high in the Blue Ridge Mountains. One solar panel provided enough electricity to keep my 3 electronics charged: a DSLR camera, a netbook, and a cellular telephone. Overall, my days usually went about the same, but every once in a while, something spectacular happened.
Sam Jones' bees are swarming.
In order to clean your equipment, all you have to do is put it out next to the beehives after, and the bees go like, "Oh, honey, I don't like unplanned events."
Bee swarming is not something you could have accounted for today?
No, it was not in my schedule. I'm gonna not get stung. I'm gonna stay sting-free.
When Sam's hives left the box and landed on a branch a couple 100 feet up, he was determined to get them back. A careful extraction is attempted, but the few bees gathered end up leaving the box shortly after their reintroduction. Ironically, when the hive couldn't find a new place to stay, they returned on their own accord a couple of days later.
Person.
I felt like one of the lost boys on the land, but the things I learned there I'll always remember. When friends came to visit, they were expected to work, but we also got to enjoy each other's company.
Thunderstorms were like my greatest fear as a child. I got over it. But that was because I was logical and knew that as long as I was in a house, I'd be totally fine. Now that I'm in a tent, and that's all I have, I'm not as confident.
We'll see how it goes.
Although it's caving in around me, there goes one of the posts.
After living in a tent for a month, I was getting fed up. I was ready to learn more about building. I wanted to build something a little more sturdy to call home. Sam and Brian were carpenters, timber framers to be exact. The boys were building a cabin for the owner of the land. I saw my idea of a construction crew transformed into friends working together. It was a community event that everyone was excited about. Things weren't exactly OSHA certified, but they were done right. With hand tools, a lot of brawn, and even unfortunately a few fossil fuels, I realized a couple men could build anything they wanted to. After the frame was up, which was done with wood harvested from the land, a slip straw insulation was applied. This is a mixture of straw and clay, which is packed into the walls. It's an earthen building technique that provides cost-efficient, well-insulated walls made out of earthen material. After seeing what a few men could do, I set out to build my own structure, with a little help from an Asheville company called Red Sky Shelters. They produce a structure called the Yome. A Yome is similar to a yurt, which is a large, semi-permanent living structure resembling a circus tent. It resembles traditional Mongolian homes. A Yome is a more modern take that uses a geodesic dome structure, which requires less wood than a conventional yurt and is more structurally sound. It's also more complicated.
Midwest accent. You don't even have a Midwest accent. The Midwest accent starts in Western New York.
That's not Midwest.
That's the beginning of the middle of the West.
Are you kidding me?
That's where it starts.
New York, that is not middle of the country.
Go there.
I'd buy Ohio.
It's next to Ohio. The line's right there. Huh?
There's a little Pennsylvania between it.
18 miles? You can
West.
smell it.
West.
Someone's cooking 18 miles away.
Looking at the plans and figuring out how to assemble my home was a daunting task, but it was also the most rewarding thing I've ever done. I wouldn't give up my time on the land for anything, but eventually it proved too much. After a trip home for a relative's wedding, things didn't feel the same. I started to feel the isolation, and the daunting reality that I couldn't live off the grid forever was starting to sink in. Now that I've lived on both ends of the spectrum, maybe I'll reach equilibrium. After the holidays, I'm catching a one-way ride to the West Coast and figuring out the next chapter in my adventure. I'd like to work with kids and help fight childhood obesity. My time off the grid taught me not to be afraid. We can adapt. We don't have to feel stuck. If we can live simply, consume a little less, and learn to utilize the resources our Earth has put around us, we can live however and wherever we want.